Saat ini, Anda sedang mendengarkan radio era baru. Green Radio Line, Beyond the Limit.
Hi, now you're listening Green Radio Line with me, Livia Collins, in Bumi Kita program, or we call it also as our Earth program. So today we have this special interview with Gita Syahrani with the topic Saving Humanity, Journey of Sustainability of Subnational Jurisdictions. So she speak as the head of Secretariat's Lingkar Temu Kabupaten Lestari, or LTKL, or also we say it in English as Sustainable District Association. So I really want to say thank you for your time, and it's such a big honor to talk to you as a person, and I'm sure we will have a lot of things to learn today by our interview. But first, I really want to ask, like, how are you there and where are you right now?
So I'm at my house. We're working from home right now since March. Actually, we haven't been able to travel to our district members for a while now. But surprisingly and fortunately, we can actually still support the district from afar. So all of the secretariat members are outside of the district, but we are also working with strategic partners on each of the districts, and we also have several local staff that's working there since last year. So that has been super helpful. But yeah, I'm just in Jakarta, not going anywhere.
Yeah. Great. So our interview today will be aired in Bumi Kita program, and then in this Saturday, and yeah, every weekend we will have special interactions with the people and also change maker, just like you, what you're doing to the environment, and everything is amazing. And I read all of your stories and what you're doing in the past 10 years exactly. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Great.
Maybe for the first time, I really want to know about your introductions, about your name, so that our listeners today will hear all about you, like your name, your current living, or now your job.
Sure. So hi everyone. I'm Gita Syahrani. You can call me Gita, and currently I'm working as the head of the secretariat in Sustainable Districts Association, or Lingkar Temu Kabupaten Lestari. But the profession itself, there's actually no Indonesian word for convener. So the actual profession is convener, and this whole convener profession is actually based on a collective action or collective impact theory, in which the theory believes if you want to achieve change through multi-stakeholders collective action, then you need an engine or a person or an entity that works solely to orchestrate the partnership itself. So that's the convener, and I'm a convener essentially. Yeah, I live in Jakarta, and the district that we represent as members in LTKL is spread across Sumatra and Kalimantan and Sulawesi, but our head office is in Jakarta.
Okay, so you are the head of secretariats of Lingkar Temu Kabupaten Lestari, or LTKL, or we call it also Sustainable District Association. So what is exactly the Lingkar Temu Kabupaten Lestari and its aspirations?
So it's an association of district government. So in Indonesia, for listeners outside of Indonesia, just to give you a bit of a context, we have national government, provincial government, and then we have district and cities government. So the difference between districts and cities are district are much more attached to land use issues, and this is one of the biggest reason why the members of LTKL got together, because they have an attachment to land use issues, because they have a high conservation area coverage. So both forest or peat, like in Riau, there's a lot of peat. And one of our district member in Riau, Siak district, is one of the largest peat area actually in Indonesia. Yet they are faced with a dilemma that is they also have a lot of poverty within their jurisdictions. So what they hope to achieve is that trying to prove if you take care of your environment, your forest and your peat and your high conservation ecosystem area, it means you can actually lift up your people from out of poverty as well. So improving the welfare. So the tagline of LTKL, in short, is actually a collaborative forum of district that are working to better implement a development model which enables environmental protection while also preserving the welfare or uplifting the welfare of its people. So striking sort of that balance is the goal. It was established in 2017, and the declaration itself are based on three of the national targets. So one is the SDGs. There's already a national action plan to support SDGs and its implementation, and the second one revolves around emission reduction. So climate crisis, climate change, all related to how Indonesia can reduce its emissions. So there's also a national action plan for that. And the third component is actually on the open government. And for open government, there was a draft of national action plan. And the reason why these three targets becomes the target of LTKL was because each national action plan for this three topic actually has specific obligations for district government. So this gives sort of responsibility for district to actually support national goal in being implemented. So it's not as if, the district come together and they suddenly come up with their own target. It's actually based on national target and how it should be implemented down to the ground until the district level. So that is what LTKL is. The basic principles of LTKL is collective impact and innovation. So aside from the district members, LTKL also established this network of partners. And the network of partners are the key to a successful implementation of the district's vision. So our role as a secretariat focuses on three things. So one is trying to ensure that the district has strategy to implement their vision. And out of that strategy, they're able to have sufficient capacity to implement it. So that's number one. The second one is making sure that the district can get connected to the right partners in accordance to their needs. And the third is that the district are being incentivized to push for sustainability. So incentivized, we interpret in incentives in a broader term. So both looking at it from the public finance domain. So if you look at the national budget, for example, there should be an incentive scheme that rewards districts that are able to protect their forest or their peat. So that's one scenario, right? But we also have scenarios where we are looking at private finance. So for example, if you're a large corporation, a large company with ability to actually procure a lot of amount of commodities, then it will be great if you as a company can prefer jurisdictions or districts that are also committed to protect their environment, not only to produce the best quality of commodities, but are also responsible in producing it. So we look at it from that two angle, and the role of the secretariat is to make sure that the district can access this type of incentives package. If the package doesn't exist, then we have to make it exist, so to speak. So we also look at the role of media like Green Radio as possible incentives provider, because sometimes the district are not aware of the power of communication and the power of narrative in order to lift their story up as well. And usually they would think about media as something that they have to like budget, this is something that you have to pay, things like that. But if you have a good story, if you have an interesting story, this is something that media can actually offer you, and you don't have to pay for anything. So if media give you free coverage, it means it's also incentive for you as a district. So yeah, so those are the three roles that we play as a secretariat, and the partners network are the one that is actually working with district in accordance to their needs. So by no means the secretariat is doing everything. We are solely a convener.
Okay, great, amazing. So there is a 12 district, if I'm not mistaken, in Likarta Mulestari. Is that right?
So actually, because I have to maybe back up a little bit. So in Indonesia, there's a national association for district government called APKASI. So Asosiasi Pemerintah Kabupaten Seluruh Indonesia.
Uh-huh.
And this houses all districts in Indonesia. Now, what LTKL is
Yep.
a caucus within APKASI,
Mm-hmm.
and it acts as an accelerator for sustainable vision.
Also,
So imagine if APKASI is, it takes care of everything, right?
yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
you need one caucus that is very much focused on solving this mystery of how can you take care of environment and also improve the welfare of your people at the same time.
Yeah.
That is what LTKL is mandated to do
Mm-hmm.
in a way. Now, because of this scenario, LTKL is also planning to be dissolved and fully integrated into APKASI by 2030. So we sort of only have 10 years
Mm-hmm.
to make sure that there's a good recipe to answer that mystery question, right?
Yeah.
How to take care of the environment and improve the welfare at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's such a big job, it's such a big question to answer. It's a
Mm-hmm.
very complex issue. Then the members, since the establishment, they've decided they are going to focus on maximum 10
Yep.
district members every year. So the secretariat are only allowed to take care of maximum 10 active members per year, at least until 2023.
Okay.
So right now, we have 14 district in total, but only 9 active districts. And so some are already eliminated in a way. They're being considered non-active members. And we have a mechanism to do it. So every year, just like if you're still in the university or in high school, you have your report card every year. Now we do the same thing in LTKL. Every year, there's an evaluation form, a progress report, so to speak, on each of the district, and it's being prepped by us as a secretariat, but then it's being presented to the General Assembly. The General Assembly is the highest decision-making body of LTKL, and then the General Assembly decide what to do with the district that are non-performing members, whether they're going to be deactivated or they're going to be temporarily suspended, and then they have a period to reactivate their membership. So yeah, so in Sumatra, in Kalimantan, and Sulawesi, right now we actually only have 9 active districts and 4 non-active districts.
Okay, got a point. So, what is exactly like the associations is funding by the government or
Mhm.
yes, okay. So we call it as associations of the government. So this is not a
Yeah,
NGO or
no.
like okay, got the point. So yeah, before we're talking about the sustainability and also the subnational jurisdictions, the people who don't understand about this issue will be asking like about why do we have to save the humanity and what is the problem with that? Can you explain that?
So essentially, the reason why we put forward human or humanity in LTKL is essentially everybody. A lot of the theory and a lot of the approach right now talks about let's save the earth.
Yeah.
But if you think about it, the earth will be fine without human. Actually, the earth might be functioning better without human.
Yes, that's a fact.
Like, they don't need saving. The earth, it doesn't need saving, simply because it is the ecosystem, right? So there are already several post-apocalypse theory that concluded earth without human is actually going to be thriving. the function of the earth, the function of the soil, the function of the air, the function of the water streams and waterways. It's all going to be healing
Yep.
without human.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we can already see some of these examples during this pandemic, actually. Without the usual human activities, plants are growing back, animals are coming back, they're showing themselves at the forest, etc. So, because of this, we want to shift the mindset and think about the journey of sustainability is not about saving the earth, it's actually about saving us.
Yep.
It's making sure that we don't get kicked out of earth by earth itself.
Yeah.
So this pandemic again is one of the example how just by having this tiny virus,
Mm-hmm.
it can make the whole world collapse, right?
Exactly.
So, and if we think about the climate crisis and how it's melting the ice caps and how a lot more viruses, a lot more bacteria that hasn't, touched the humanity right now can suddenly appear, and we don't know what to do with it. So, what if we think about the journey of sustainability is actually the journey of us making peace with Earth and saying to Earth, please don't kick us out because we'll take care of you and we're beneficial and we'll make sure that all of our activities doesn't disturb your function. So that is the paradigm that we're trying to do. It's not actually about saving anything but us, the human race, essentially. As selfish it is, but we believe a lot more people would resonate to that message, because if you think about saving the earth, maybe you don't love the earth, but if you think about saving you, saving your mom, saving your dad, saving your future kids, saving your husband, saving your boyfriend, your girlfriend, then you think about it in a more sort of personal way as well.
Exactly, that's a great approach too. Yes. So now comes to the topic that how the sustainability at the subnational jurisdiction is itself
Mm.
can like can save the humanity challenge right now. The about the economic, about the social, and also about the sustainability itself.
So the reason, like, I mean, my personal reason why I was excited to join and support LTKL is because I truly believe that a lot of the problem, but also opportunities that we have right now in Indonesia lies in the hand of the subnational. So the districts, the cities, it doesn't lie in, the solution doesn't lie necessarily in Jakarta, because Jakarta is only, you know, a capital city. If we look at the highest emission contributor in Indonesia, you look at sectors like forestry, deforestation, making sure that our forests are intact. You look at sectors like energy that are mostly outside of the Java Island concentration. And you also look at it from infrastructure and transportation angle. And in a way, I look at subnationals as the places where we can actually start achieving greater impact.
Yep.
If you look at the concentration of the intact forest right now, you would look at the eastern part of Indonesia as having maybe the largest part of it right now. But then you also look at Kalimantan and Sumatra, as well as Sulawesi, with patches of intact forest that are relatively large scale as well,
Yep.
that can potentially save us from a greater impact of climate crisis itself. That's only talking about forest. For folks in Riau, maybe peat is much more relevant for you.
Yep.
And in terms of ability for peat fire prevention,
Yeah.
to drastically reduce our emission contribution,
Mm-hmm.
there's no place like Rio in a way, right?
Yep.
With the largest concentration of peat, if you're able to like have zero fire at all, then it would the impact would be huge for the country. So essentially, that's where the sort of the common thread lies. Ability to still protect. And then we look at the national interest or the national target. Indonesia wants to be one of the largest economy by 2045. We aim to graduate to developed country by 2045. And in order to do so, the national government have set very ambitious target in terms of making sure that the developed centers or developed centers, economic centers is spread across Indonesia. It's not only in one or two places, right? Pekanbaru is already growing, but we need more of the type of developed area where economy can also thrive. At the same time, we look at what type of economy are healthy so that we can still draw a common thread between the importance of protecting our forest and our peat with the need for Indonesia to become a developed nation. So what type of economic model can we actually think about? There are a lot of theory around it. One of my favorite is distributive economy. So you think about economy as something that you have to spread across. Like it's not intended to only serve the 1% or only a few layers of society, but it actually is designed to be able to not only serve everyone, but allow everybody to also have their own economic independence. Now, we actually translate that into a vision at the subnational level, looking at the district with their own potential to become an economic center with their own ability to also protect their environment. And how to marry the two is by focusing on value-added industry. So if you look at Siak, for example, Siak has a lot of peat. It had a lot of problem with fire. And actually traditional knowledge of the people in Siak have guided them to plant pineapple within their peat area, because pineapple would actually prevent fire from jumping from one plot to the other. So it's actually a good like fire natural wall as well. But then if you look at pineapple, the people of Siak shouldn't think about it as a raw commodity of selling pineapple only. If you think about the four biggest sector with value-added potential, health sector, beauty and wellness sector, food and beverages sector, and industry and technology sector, you can think about pineapple in a different way. Why stop at selling raw pineapple if you can get the extract, use it as a face mask, so you don't need to actually import from Korea. It's a pineapple face mask coming from Siak, single origin, Or if you look at it from a health perspective, and you look at the pineapple essence, there's a lot of vitamin C that can also be extracted as part of the health industry. So how do you make sure that every single district in Indonesia with nature-based potential has the ability to establish their own value-added industry that can produce sustainable product? So you can uplift the value creation within the district, 100 or even thousands% compared to if they only concentrate on raw commodity. So this is a concept that we launched earlier in 2020. It's called Sustainable Economy, basically, or Communature. We call it community living in nature, because if we look at the value-added industry potential in a lot of the district, we also need to recognize the importance of making sure that community is also at the heart of it. They should be the manager, they should be the owner of the business, they should be the one that is actually running the facilities, they should be the expert that are identifying what type of local potential that should be embraced, right? So this is an integrated concept not to only think about it about growing an industry, but it's actually about growing the district itself in a holistic manner. Yeah, so all the way from planning down to the business, down to the human resources, down to the research potential, all the way to how do you communicate it? Do you use radio? Do you use Zoom? What do you use? So there's a place for everyone, and hopefully the place is integrated in a sustainable economy umbrella.
That's a really interesting point. So, but you know, when we're talking about that things, so is that the LTKL have a lot of job to do that. So you have to you have to participate the community and the private sectors and the business one, and you make it into one. You know, like make the relations between all of them. So how exactly like you do that in 2 years, is that right? Is in the 2 years or 3 years that the LTKL already established?
So again, if you compare it to an orchestra,
Yeah.
um, LTKL is the orchestra, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and our job as a secretariat is sort of the conductor. The people that plays the guitar and the violin and the cello and everything else is actually the districts and the partners.
Mm-hmm.
So the only way that we can achieve such big targets if we join forces. And that's the whole model of LTKL. This is not a one organization job.
Yep.
This is actually progress that's made out of collaboration of 30 plus organization
Mm-hmm.
working in multiple districts at one time. Literally right now our partners network, maybe the numbers are more than 50, and that's the only reason how the district members can achieve the progress that they've achieved. Sintang, for example, a district in West Kalimantan, they've issued a jurisdictional profile, their own profile, that also highlights what are their progress on the ground in terms of sustainability. And then they are also able to assign each of the progress with the contributor. So if you look at, so everybody can download this from the Bapeda website.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at the profile, you can literally see, okay, I managed to issue this type of regulation. And then you can see how they assign the contributing actors. It's not only the government, but civil society was also part of it. Private sector was also part of it. So this is the dream, yeah? You can literally say that progress in each district of LTKL is not made by the government. It's not made by the secretariat. It's actually made by collective actions of everyone, and everybody gets credit for it
Uh-huh.
because they contributed.
Yeah, so I'm really curious about the progress itself of the LTKL in these 2 years of running.
So in terms of progress, w- w- I don't know if the signal is
Yes, I
right, but
can hear
anyway.
you, by the way.
Okay, so I keep hearing back noise. Anyway, but right now, in terms of measuring progress, there's 5 main pillars that we call the recipe of sustainable districts. So one is the planning.
Mm-hmm.
The second one is regulatory framework. The third is multi-stakeholders decision making
Yep.
or multi-stakeholders governance. The fourth is the ability to monitor and report against your own progress. And the fifth is actually a joint action plan that is agreed by everyone and implemented by everyone. So
Mm-hmm.
this is how we measure progress of our members. Right now, all 9 active district members have progressed in all 5 pillars, but not there's no district that are able to progress in all 5.
Mm-hmm.
So, and this is basically the first year, like 2020 was the first year that we actually measured progress, because our activity didn't start maybe until mid 2018, and
Mm-hmm.
then we did stuff in 2019, and then only by February 2020 we did the first sort of progress reporting in each of the districts. And we're happy to say that at least each of the district have progress in at least 2 pillars out of the 5. So either they've issued new regulation, or they've integrated the sustainability into their planning document, or they managed to issue a jurisdictional profile like Sintang, or they are able to participate in our monitoring framework called the Regional Competitiveness Framework, or they're able to also issue their own investment portfolio and actually got some transactions out of it. So progress in all of the district, not all 5 pillars, but at least progress in at least 2. In terms of things that might be exciting for the listener, because I know talking about regulation and planning document, maybe that sounds a bit boring, sometimes, although it's like the fundamentals of everything. Sintang, by issuing their profile, they became much more interesting for investors and have gotten an MOU from one of private sector group that focuses on sustainable product. And actually last year, there's a small medium scale enterprises in Sintang that produces tengkawang butter. Ilipe butter, that's an endemic trees from Kalimantan that can produce oil that can also substitute, shea butter or other vegetable oil, or even animal fat in different product, beauty, and wellness, and also food. And right now, the tengkawang butter have been transformed into solid deodorant. So if listeners wants to buy, you can visit Yagi Natural. It's the name of the brand, and they carry a solid deodorant made of tengkawang that is taken from Sintang, and it's actually in an area of orangutan habitat. So by using the deodorant, you actually help save the orangutan.
I got the point. So that's a great movement too. And then the challenge that occurs when you're working in these issues, and how the associations would address that in the future.
In terms of obstacles, I guess there's a lot of it. But there's a study in 2015 that was commissioned by the Packard Foundation, but done by Diameter Consulting, on how to promote sustainability through collective action. They call it jurisdictional approach. And the conclusion of the study is that there is actually no there's no incentives for politically elected leaders to push for sustainability in Indonesia. So that's the reality that we have to face, and also sort of the main issue would be, how do we turn that around? How do we make sure that we create an ecosystem that actually incentivize subnationals that is doing good in terms of sustainability? So if you're familiar with the 3 circles that represent sustainability, the economy, social, and environment, usually people would draw it in a 3-circle kind of way where they interconnect with each other, right? But for us, the biggest challenge is how to shift the paradigm instead of making it 3 intertwined circle. We make it ecology is the biggest circle, and then economy is actually the second layer of the circle that sits within the ecology. And then humanity is actually another circle that sits within the economy. So only by doing so, we're able to see how preserving environment, preserving ecology is not actually sacrificing economy. It's actually enabling economy and humanity to thrive and reach its potential. But in order to shift that paradigm, we need more success stories.
Yeah.
And that is one of the biggest challenge right now, is how can we make it convincing in numbers that this is how the economic model should be. We're working with a lot of partners that are focusing on the economic valuation and trying to come up with business model, because we believe that this is the way to go. Sustainability have to have a strong political case, a strong economic case, strong business case, and a strong social case in order for it to be something that everybody believes in. And the ecology becomes the biggest circle that houses the two other circles. So the biggest challenge is finding that success stories and making sure that I guess the second part is everybody realize that this is a long journey to try to crack that mystery, and how to keep people motivated throughout the journey is another thing. If this is about 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, making sure that you're consistently pushing the same messaging as a national government, then we as the secretariat, our job is also to make sure that they get incentivized along the way. So what is the smaller type of incentives? Maybe an interview with Green Radio is one type of incentives for the Bupati, for example. Maybe like a feature coming from a media can be an incentives. Anything that is helpful for the district to keep being motivated to push for sustainability, we have to make sure that there's something every year, there's something every 2 years, something every 3 years, so that they don't get frustrated. We do all this and we got nothing, right? We don't want the district to think that way. So making sure that they have the smaller incentives along the way before we reach the bigger incentives, hopefully in the future, is also another challenge.
Okay, great. That's the great message too. So, tadi kita sudah berbicara secara garis besar ya Kak. Sekarang kita beralih nih ke isu lebih spesifik di apa yang dilakukan oleh Lingkar Temu Lestari. Mengambil contoh dari satu kabupaten yang bergabung di LTKL, yaitu Kabupaten Sintar yang sudah Kakak Sintang ya, di Kalimantan Barat yang sudah Kakak sampaikan, terdapat RADKSB atau Rencana Aksi Daerah Kelapa Sawit Berkelanjutan. Nah, bagaimana nih Kak rencana model kelapa sawit yang berkelanjutan ini? Di saat kita kalau melihat faktanya bahwa penyebab salah satu deforestasi itu di Kalimantan salah satunya karena kelapa sawit. Nah, bagaimana nih secara spesifiknya boleh dijelasin Kak?
Jadi kalau dari sisi komitmennya Sintang sendiri, sebetulnya itu basisnya adalah rencana aksi nasional juga sebetulnya. Jadi di Indonesia sudah ada rencana aksi nasional kelapa sawit berkelanjutan yang fokusnya itu di beberapa hal, termasuk intensifikasi. Jadi bagaimana sih akhirnya di Indonesia itu semua kelapa sawit yang sudah ada masuk ke dalam level produktivitas yang paling optimal sehingga tidak dibutuhkan lahan-lahan baru. Jadi kan sekarang kalau dipikir gitu ya, apa sih yang menyebabkan lebih banyak lagi deforestasi atau apa sih yang menyebabkan banyak kebakaran? Seringkali itu karena buka lahan baru gitu sebetulnya. Kalau lahannya sudah ditanam tidak mungkin dibakar gitu kan sebetulnya. Jadi bagaimana caranya kita memastikan bahwa lahan yang sudah ada sekarang itu dikelola dengan baik sehingga level produktivitasnya itu masuk ke level optimal. Nah, biasanya gap itu terjadi yang sangat besar antara, kan kalau di kelapa sawit Indonesia ada yang perkebunan besar begitu ya, kemudian ada perkebunan sedang, lalu ada perkebunan masyarakat yang dikelola langsung oleh petani. Tapi petaninya itu ada petani plasma yang memang berinduk kepada perusahaan biasanya perkebunan besar, ada juga yang petani swadaya. Nah, ini layer perkebunan yang dikelola oleh masyarakat itu sebetulnya besar sekali, 40% lebih dari total lahan. Sedangkan gap produktivitas antara yang dikelola oleh rakyat dengan apa yang dikelola oleh perkebunan besar itu jauh sekali juga. Jadi bagaimana kita memastikan yang berkembang bukan yang di sini saja nih, dan yang di bawah juga level produktivitasnya harus naik. Makanya itu salah satu angle dari rencana aksi nasional kelapa sawit berkelanjutan adalah intensifikasi khususnya untuk perkebunan yang dikelola oleh petani begitu ya. Nah, yang kedua, itu sebetulnya fokus utamanya di penataan perizinan. Jadi bagaimana sih kita memastikan bahwa keseluruhan dari apa-apa saja yang bisa masuk ke dalam angle perkebunan berkelanjutan itu memang menjadi prioritas prioritasnya daerah begitu untuk terintegrasi dalam dokumen perencanaan. Jadi dari mulai rencana tata ruang wilayah, masuk ke dalam rencana pembangunan RPJMD-nya, masuk ke dalam kajian lingkungan hidup strategisnya juga sesuai begitu. Betul-betul memperuntukkan lokasi-lokasi yang memang oke untuk digunakan untuk produksi itu ya sudah di situ saja. Kemudian lokasi-lokasi yang memang diperuntukkan untuk konservasi dan harus dijaga jangan sampai dibuka. Kemudian melihat kembali status dari perizinan yang ada di teritori itu seperti apa. Apakah ada yang tidak sesuai? Harusnya tidak dikeluarkan izinnya di lokasi yang harusnya diperuntukkan untuk konservasi begitu, itu mungkin bisa dievaluasi kemudian diperbaiki. Jadi penataan perizinan itu angle yang kedua gitu. Bagaimana sih akhirnya betul-betul tempat yang diperuntukkan untuk kelapa sawit itu tidak membahayakan secara ekologis begitu ya, sesuai dengan daya tampung dan daya dukung lingkungannya. Nah, yang ketiga memang fokusnya itu kepada kemampuan hilirisasi, tadi seperti yang kita sudah bahas. Bagaimana sih akhirnya kita tidak berhenti cuma kayak bagian rakus lahannya saja, tapi daerah-daerah juga bisa mengembangkan sampai ke level nilai tambah. Artinya jangan sampai ada satu daerah yang cuma digunakan saja lahannya, kemudian hasil dari produksi sawitnya itu semuanya keluar dan diolah di tempat lain. Karena sebetulnya nilai tambah yang paling besar justru pada saat pengolahan. Begitu itu terjadi, maka hampir semua hasil gitu ya dari membuka lahan untuk sektor sawit itu tidak masuk lagi ke daerah karena secara perpajakan untuk hal-hal yang dihasilkan di pengolahan dan lain-lain masuknya di tempat lain padahal tanahnya yang digunakan di kabupaten tertentu. Jadi mungkin fokusnya juga di situ bagaimana proses hilirisasi yang adalah proses bernilai tambah yang paling besar bagian dari rantai pasok itu juga dilakukan sedapat mungkin di tempat yang sama, di jurisdiksi yang sama. Jadi mungkin harapannya dengan fokus kepada 3 hal itu izinnya betul dan ditegakkan begitu, kemudian produktivitasnya digenjot supaya sampai ke level optimal dan juga dari sisi hilirisasi masuk ke masuk ke bagian-bagian yang nilai tambahnya besar. Harapannya kelapa sawit memang betul-betul bisa masuk ke dalam kategori berkelanjutan. Nah, dicap sebagai kelapa sawit berkelanjutannya seperti apa, Indonesia sudah punya standar Indonesia Sustainable Palm Oil, ada standar ISPO. Tapi juga secara pasar sudah banyak standar-standar sawit ramah sosial, ramah lingkungan yang dikembangkan oleh dunia global begitu ya. Salah satunya yang cukup relevan dan sudah ada interpretasinya dari perspektif Indonesia itu adalah RSPO, Roundtable for Sustainable Palm Oil. Jadi gimana caranya sawit-sawit yang diproduksi dari Indonesia dan dari kabupaten-kabupaten seluruh Indonesia bisa memenuhi standar-standar tersebut supaya memang juga laku di pasaran gitu ya dan tidak pastinya sesuai dengan legalitas Indonesia juga. Itu sih sebetulnya angle-nya.
Memang perencanaannya sangat baik ya Kak ya. Dan ini nih kita udah berbicara banyak yang paling Livia curious about is that partisipasi seperti apa sih yang bisa dilakukan seperti halnya Livia nih anak-anak muda di daerah masing-masing untuk bisa memberi dampak dan juga terlibat dalam perubahan yang ingin dicapai dari LTKL sendiri nih.
Oke, jadi kalau dari sisi yang ingin kita capai pastinya jadi ini khusus untuk RAN KSB atau untuk semuanya nih, Mbak?
Dari LTKL sendiri nih Kak, atau secara garis besar boleh juga.
Oke, kalau untuk beberapa target yang terkait sama komoditas gitu ya. Jadi kita gedein lagi ya, kalau tadi kita cuma ngomongin sawit gitu. LTKL sebenarnya memang 2019 lalu sudah memutuskan bahwa dia akan berkonsentrasi di beberapa komoditas karena LTKL sendiri merasa anggota-anggotanya pada saat masuk dari angle komoditas, jadi memperbaiki komoditas dan rantai pasoknya, maka mereka bisa mengatasi beberapa masalah sekaligus. Jadi bisa mengatasi kebencanaan, baik itu kebakaran hutan lahan maupun kebencanaan yang lain gitu ya. Yang kedua, bisa bicara tentang energi bersih terbarukan, shifting ke sana. Yang ketiga, bisa bicara tentang pengolahan limbah dari rantai pasok itu sendiri. Yang keempat, bisa ngomongin rantai pasok untuk rakyat sendiri, jadi hak tanah dan lain-lain, itu untuk reforma agraria, perhutanan sosial dan lain-lain. Dan yang terakhir juga bisa bicara tentang konservasi dan restorasi gitu ya, gimana caranya ini dihubungkan kepada proteksi hutan, proteksi gambut dan juga menambah jumlah yang sudah ada. Karena mereka ngerasa jadi komoditas ini bisa jadi payung gitu ya Mbak Olivia dari isu-isu lainnya, kita minta mereka milih gitu. Oke kalau gitu mana nih yang mau dijadiin prioritas komoditasnya. Secara bersama-sama mereka memilih 7. Nah 7 ini masing-masing kabupaten punya kayak 2 atau 3 gitu ya, jadi nggak punya 7-7-nya. Tapi 7 ini ada sawit, tadi sudah kita bicarakan, ada karet, ada kopi, ada kakao, ada kelapa, ada rempah, dan juga ada hasil hutan bukan kayu. Nah, 7 komoditas inilah yang harapannya, balik ke obrolan kita sebelumnya, bisa dikelola dengan baik untuk produk bernilai tambah. Jadi bukan hanya berhenti sampai ke bahan mentah begitu, tapi betul-betul dilihat sebagai potensi yang dapat dikelola secara ramah lingkungan, ramah sosial, sampai ke hilirisasi, masuk bisa produksi produk turunan, dan nembaknya ke 4 sektor yang tadi yang kita bilang punya value added paling besar, dari mulai kecantikan, kesehatan, makanan dan minuman, F&B, dan juga industri dan teknologi. Pada saat itu bisa ketemu formulanya, maka kita percaya bisa tuh dipecahin pertanyaan gimana sih caranya memastikan bahwa hutan dan gambut tetap terproteksi, tapi masyarakatnya juga bisa sejahtera. Karena kita melihat kalau kita terjemahkan itu dalam lingkup kawasan kecil, kawasan pedesaan, misalnya kalau kawasan pedesaan tuh bisa 13 sampai 20-an desa gitu di satu kabupaten, atau skala kecamatan gitu, maka ekonominya bisa betul-betul muter tuh kalau kita lihat dari perspektif menghasilkan produk bernilai tambah. Bahkan pasarnya nggak usah jauh-jauh nyari keluar. Jangan-jangan kabupaten sendiri juga udah bisa jadi pasarnya gitu kan. Jadi kita betul-betul bisa memastikan ekonominya benar-benar muter, tapi kita juga melihat hutan sama gambut yang terjaga ini sebagai bagian dari dapur. Jadi kita nggak akan tergoda untuk merusaknya, karena kita tahu kalau sampai dirusak, misalnya kita ngembangin ikan gitu ya, ikan gabus karena bisa diekstrak jadi albumin. Kalau kita tahu ikan gabus itu bila sungainya rusak, dia itu mati gitu kan, ya kita nggak mau dong kehilangan mata pencaharian kita, jadi mau nggak mau kita jagain sungainya juga. Atau ikan gabusnya itu kalau nggak dibudidaya dengan baik, maka dia akan kehilangan kualitasnya, nanti turun kadar albuminnya. Kita akan pasti memastikan tanahnya tetap berkualitas baik, airnya tetap berkualitas baik, supaya secara komoditas dia kualitasnya juga tetap terjaga. Gitu sih. Jadi harus dihubungin gitu satu sama lain. Emang itu ya balik lagi tadi tantangannya cari sukses story gitu kan. Gimana caranya membuktikan ini memang bisa. Dan ya kita lihat aja Mbak 10 tahun lagi. Mudah-mudahan selalu ada progres.
Bener. Nah, emang iya nih kalau dengar apa yang Mbak bilang tadi, semuanya itu terkait ya kalau misalnya kita mau mencapai sustainability dan juga ekonomi dan juga sosial, semuanya itu akan terkait. Nah, terakhir nih, Mbak Gita, closing statement ataupun harapan dan pesan, Mbak kepada pendengar Green Radio Land yang sekarang mendengarkan, interview kita. Mungkin yang pertama Mbak bisa memperkenalkan diri dan menyampaikan closing statement-nya.
Oke, kalau gitu dari sisi aku, terima kasih banyak sudah diundang, senang sekali bisa ngobrol-ngobrol sore hari ini, dan sebenarnya kalau dari saya pribadi gitu ya, nggak usah terlalu muluk-muluk, yang penting kita melihat konsep pembangunan lestari itu memastikan bahwa kualitas tanah terjaga, kualitas air terjaga, kualitas udara terjaga. Karena kalau 3 hal ini terjaga, maka mau bikin usaha apapun, mau mimpi masa depan kayak gimana pun, pasti bisa. Tapi begitu kita rusak salah satu fungsinya, itu jadinya mau bikin apapun juga nanti gagal panen atau tiba-tiba jadi banyak bencana gitu. Atau ya maksudnya mau nanam apa juga belum apa-apa udah gagal gitu kan. Jadi mungkin itu sih pesan terakhirnya. Kita melihat ini sebagai usaha kita manusia nih ya untuk baik-baikin bumi, untuk bilang sama bumi, kita bakal jagain kok. Tanahnya bakal tetap bagus, airnya bakal tetap bagus, udaranya bakal tetap bagus. Jadi tolong jangan diusir ya gitu. Jadi kita bakal tetap menguntungkan kok kalau kamu keep di sini juga gitu. Jadi ini usaha kita bareng-bareng, harus bergotong royong, jangan takut buat kerjasama sama yang lintas sektor, lintas bidang, lintas pemangku kepentingan tuh maksudnya yang pemerintah sama swasta gitu ya, yang swasta sama masyarakat sipil, itu jangan ragu-ragu, jangan takut, sekarang udah zamannya collabs gitu ya, udah zamannya kolaborasi. Dengan bergotong royong itu baru kita bisa memecahkan berbagai masalah yang kompleks di Indonesia, karena semua masalah juga adalah kesempatan. Kurang lebih gitu kali ya dari aku.
Iya. Makasih banget Kak Gita untuk waktu dan kesempatannya nih. Semoga saya yakin banget pendengar mendapatkan banyak sekali informasi dan juga pelajaran dari apa yang kita bicarakan hari ini. Dan ya, stay healthy and ya, bye.
Saat ini, Anda sedang mendengarkan Radio Era Baru. Green Radio Line, Beyond the Limit.